The harmonic scale for music starts at the number one, not zero. There isn't a zero. And I was also wondering, why do dogs sneeze, horses sneeze, people sneeze? One of those things like sleep, something we do that we don't understand. I know they say pepper can make you sneeze. Now, I heard a girl yesterday say one is the loneliest number from an old song by Three Dog Night. I know if zero was really a number, the people back then would have started with it. But like the word just, I make a big deal out of that. Like I make a big deal out of there is no number zero, it doesn't exist. And the word just comes up today too, because that was invented for just harmonics. And the word just is either it is a just decision by a just God or it just happened. There is no just harmony note. So, welcome everybody to Mudflood was Armageddon. The Mudflood was the Armageddon. Don't let them tell you anything else unless they're willing to debate you in a fair and honest way. Hey, look at it's the thing, man. There it is. They love it. We hate it. I'm going to be giving my own religious advice. You can go to your doctors, go get your other approved, what they're going to want to tell you. This is the way it is. Oh, okay. And you'll believe them? No, you won't. Hey, here's some pictures. That's not a picture at
Operation
all.
Mockingbird put CIA operatives inside the biggest newsrooms in America, not just whispering in journalists' ears, they were writing the actual stories. Some of them were even newscasters. They were planting every single angle that they were told to plant. And by the 70s,
I I was showing a friend this video this morning. How'd that one start? I think I wanted this one. Shortly after the Freeling family had nearly finished packing to move out of the house, before the family was to leave, Steve heads to his office while Dana is on a date, leaving Diane at home with Robbie and Carol Ann. I'm reading from the website on the Wikipedia about Poltergeist, the movie. Remember the Carrie Ann character? They're back. That's the girl that they alleged got, sodomized to death by famous people. This is that movie. What was it about? Poltergeist. Excuse me. I'm all worked up. So she's on a date. Robbie and Carol Ann are home. Subsequently, the beast violently attacks Diane and the children, apparently with an intent of dragging the children into its dimension. While running through the backyard in an attempt to get help, Diane stumbles into a flooded swimming pool excavation. A skeleton corpse floats up around her in the muddy hole. Panicking, Diane crawls out and rushes back in the house. She rescues the children and they narrowly escape outside as more bodies erupt from the ground. They moved the gravestone. Steve arrives back home, discovers that only the gravestones were moved. Desecrated. They're unmarked graves left to build the cities of, and I'm thinking it's like San Francisco. It's everything. And in the, they introduced ectoplasm in that movie. And Poltergeist is an old movie. You're looking at old stuff. So it was a hoax. It was a fetish. A hoax fashioned from cheesecloth gauze and other natural substances. From the Greek word, something formed, but very famous people believed in it for a long time. It was coined in 1894. Oh, man. Hey, here's that guy on the thumbnail in the golf course. Look at that. That's an old desecrated cemetery. Now I'm at that point. I want to make sure I'm sharing the screen. Looks like I was sharing the screen. I'm going to go back to sharing the screen with the pictures I had going. There it is. There's Jose Guardado playing golf near the Conchal Funerary Monument in Lincoln Park. It looks old. Super old. I don't know how old. Look, you can always find where I live. Just follow the Rio Grande River. Where is it? Well, there's New Mexico. Probably up here. There's an upper lake. It's got to be right in here by the mountains. It's pretty important. There's Taos. So we're right up here. They must not have known where the river started. This is a little better because here you can, follow the Rio Grande all the way up here. There's Santa Fe. But it's the island of California that gets everybody's attention. Some people call it the Red Sea. That's what they said. The last name Hughes, over 200,000. My buddy RJ, about 8,000 maybe. Now Johnson, if you say how many people named Johnson, well, there's over 2 million in the United States alone. That's a lot. Hey, look, it says Epstein's books. That kind of looks, I don't know. Ron Jeremy? Who is it? But it's Epstein's books. And it's from someone found Epstein in a Disney movie. It's the Enchanted. I don't have that movie pulled up, but here's what's here's what's going on. There's a picture. They have a picture book. And when they turn the page, that's the picture. They turn the page. I don't know how I got them out of order. And then when it opens up, there it is. Excuse me. Man, I hope I'm sharing the screen on that because sometimes that's the important stuff. You get to see the pictures. So I think I am. And that's crazy, right? The Epstein's books. And it's little girls and Amy Adams. Maybe she's a handler. People love her since Enchanted and those other cute movies like Talladega Nights, where she goes to, we had sex with her and Will Ferrell in that movie. This seems weird. There's Epstein's bookstore. It's what it opens to. Huh. Gunpowder. Gunpowder used to be white. Saltpeter is white and flashy. It starts with a one. Natural counting starts with one. Like there is one God. The harmonic scale. I I like to do a sermon. Father wants me to do a sermon, as much as I can. Sometimes up to 2 days, sometimes more. I start with like, okay, what? Why does the harmonic scale start at one and not zero? Because I'm all over. I don't like zero as a number. So I type it in and it goes in music theory, scale degrees are labeled starting from one because they represent positions within a tonal system, not just arbitrary numbers. You can't get more confusing on purpose. And people with the King James that talk about, oh, English is the number one God given language. Would you please? It's the most charted, made up, trace the true use of the word, evolution of the English language, and see how recently they were changing V's into U's for the word court. And a W was two V's. They had the aeon, the A and the E for the words like ether. Would you please, if we tried to start at zero for the harmonic scale, we need to define what zero means. So that's implying that they haven't really a good definition. Kind of like the Trinity. They say they want to believe in it. Now, when the people that brought you the tritone, the devil's chord, the Shakespeare, the roll it out, there is something in temperament that tests the physical limits of harmony. And they want to call it just intonation. And it's in quotes because it's newly made up at Emmanuel College because these guys at the harmonium in the Cavendish laboratory. Remember Cavendish, the man who weighed the earth? They're all the same Freemason Jesuits. This scheme, read horizontally, gives a series of perfect fifths, which are to be tuned exactly. And they have again, just in quotes. I.e., as a violinist tunes his fifths in perfect intonation so that there are no beats in the vibration numbers. Okay, that's weird. Now I got now I have to go to where I have that other stuff going. Thank you for that. I appreciate that, Manuel. Here's where I got that from. I was looking at this stuff. She's all about it's the this stuff.
Ray, to plead Hortensio's passion. Be me, Bianca, take him for thy lord. C.
A B C D E.
And do you tell me of a woman's tongue? Gun comes in the form of an insult Petruchio earns from all of his plain chant speaking. I knew you at the first. You were immovable. Because
This language was caught. Shakespeare wrote the King James Bible at about the same time when they had, traceable English. I know this is so boring, right? Okay, it even gets worse.
onto the notes of G and F. Harmonic 8 is the note of C, which enters the series at harmonic 1 and scales up 3 doubled octaves to harmonic 8. And harmonic 7 is the note of B.
You think it can't get any worse?
Vortex flow is the ability of Christine Day to loosen certain intervals via Pythagorean tuning, opening them so much that
Yeah, it's that Pythagoras tuning, which everybody knows he didn't invent anything to do with it. The Greeks took his name. I think I have a tab so I can back that up. Of me, of me, of me, the Father of me. So every time this word is used, except once, let me check this. I don't get too many. Oh, my. Okay. So one thing, it was a man whose daughter had died, and he knew that Jesus could heal him. Every other time, it is about Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Of me. It's the Mao. It's the word ego. Mao. Ego. Of me. You know, but when you use it like when I was showing you, that means it's mostly Jesus. They answer Jesus. If anyone loves me, the word of me, he will keep the Father, me. It's not of me. It's always me. You know, Obed beget Jesse, and Jesse beget David, and David beget Solomon. You know, it's never a Father of me. They do that on purpose to make it seem like a Trinity. We have to read the Bible correctly. You do not work for food. I think I did this one last night. Whatever you do, yep. We'll keep this open in case we need to look up some things. Here's that what you have to do, the ergozomai. It's the type of a work. You go and work. We work. God sent us to work. Once you're saved, there's works that have been set before you from before the foundation of the world. Before the foundation of the world. I think I let world trail off a little too much. First thing I want to look at here is that movie Poltergeist. Bodies erupting from the ground. Unmarked graves. Wow, they just want to get out of town, man. What were they trying to tell you, you know? These guys. I think that this guy got in trouble. But I don't know. So many people should be in trouble and they didn't. But this guy, he was so good at making scary movies, you know, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Steven Spielberg hired him if they can't make a PG movie for children. It's horrifying. And what went on behind the scenes, I guess, is more horrifying. Captive and restrain the other spirits from crossing over, because something about that little girl's radiant life force attracted the spirits to her, and they wanted to kidnap her. Or so. It gets convoluted. Yikes. There's some ectoplasm. People believed in it from like 18. Well, when did Blavatsky and the Rosicrucians break out to spiritualism? We'll never know for sure. They faked it till they made it. They got called out faking it. Look, that looks pretty ridiculous, huh? But they believed in it, held by Camille Flammarion. I wonder if they had anything to do with that engraving. I think we look at that. Very, very prolific author, 50 titles, science fiction, physical research. William Crookes, he was a famous chemist and mustache grower, pioneer of vacuum tubes. But, you know, I'm sure they're leaving out that he was in the Rosicrucians and the Freemasons, but they had everybody believing you could do it. You know, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. What a time. So here's that guy. He won the Nobel Prize, one of those guys that was into the ectoplasm. He coined the ectoplasm. He didn't get the Nobel Prize for that tomfoolery. Oh, big time. Of course, well, they all did. Anybody famous back then lived with and was cool with eugenics because that's the way it had to be. Educated at the Bonaparte in Paris. Well, he's from Paris. Wow. Dang, it's like looking in a mirror. Man, that's weird. I never faked any of this stuff. I don't fake any of that. I don't even go for those fake, like, charismatics, like, heal. If it was real, I'd be all for it. Huh. Yeah, we got more. We got to keep going. You know, this guy's not, I don't think he won any Nobel Prizes at all, that guy. But he did work at the Institute, the director of the Metaphysique Internationale from 1919 to 1924. He wrote the Bible on reincarnation. Yeah, that was a big thing. And it was really a big deal back then. Because this guy, the Nobel Prize winner, he was all about it. Look at me. He got exposed in 1924. That's why they had to shut it down. He's Jewish. Harry Houdini. Eric Veit. Weitz, maybe. Was this guy famous? Looks like he's one of those dueling swordsmen that was dueling academics. A lot of people had those scars on their face. A lot of real Germans did that a lot. Hypnotism, telepathy, the devil's cord, mesmerism.
Percent match comes from is the human experts in or that are targeting analysts.
Can we walk through some of the suppositions or some of the things that we can infer from the allegation?
I don't know. The historically known clue for any sort of criminal violation, whenever there's an investigation going on from a law enforcement perspective or from a private investigator or from a journalist, it's like, we should look for footprints. Footprints. So I tend to put gait analysis and foot measurements in that category. And I don't know, maybe taking one of the other top of mind ones out there. Can you kind of go into the foot measurement thing to me, which I just think is simultaneously hysterical and extremely relevant because of the physical description that we're getting about the pipe bomb?
Yeah, let me start off by saying you pointed out something very interesting. When you're talking about just footprints, we're not talking about just the soles of the shoes. You can tell it whether it's a Nike Air Max Speed Turf or a pair of Doc Martens. I mean, you can certainly tell the difference in the imprint in mud or in a soft soiled area, but they're measuring in footprints. They're measuring which side of the foot they're leaning on, which side of the foot they favor. They can measure the footsteps and see whether that foot is crossing over, whether they're pigeon-toed or whether they're, duck-toed. In terms of how their feet move when they're walking. Are their feet splayed out to the left?
Nobody's making fun of this girl that is the number one suspect for planting the pipe bomb on January 5th and, instigating the fake insurrection. This girl did it, and she had a unique soccer injury, and I guess the computers that convict other people put her at 94% because they use this all of the time.
The right as one side crossover to the other. I mean, all these things are part of gate analysis and have been for hundreds of years. But more importantly, and this is really getting to the heart of our work and how we've been debunked or allegedly debunked, is that the very same gate podiatrist recognition specialist that we also took this to confirm our previous analysis refused to take our case and work for us for pay because they were the one also reporting. He was the same expert reporting to the FBI. Of thousands of other examples.
There she is.
The Nancy Guthrie case.
That's being mean, I
FBI
know.
Used gate
but she got a gate
to try and identify the suspect.
From a soccer injury.
An actual January 6th pipe bomb suspect was cleared by the FBI by their use of gate recognition software to clear him.
And the guy that they cleared, he's the guy, I can't be sure if he's the guy, but she shot a guy 50 times with pepper bullets, non-lethal rounds, and they're saying he was so coked up. It didn't even slow him down.
No, had you ever had any personal experience with Shawnee Kirkhoff?
No, the guy reference trial was in the summer of 22. July, I think, is when it began in 2022. So a year and a half after January 6th was the very first of all the trials that were to follow thereafter. So no, I had no knowledge of who she was, what she was at all at the time.
You know, the only place they found the two inert pipe bombs, which are supposed to be trading bombs, were places that she set down.
Any number of people, right-wing media, people who are maybe in government.
Take away from this is 51 of the phone numbers didn't get searched because they said the phone belonged to law enforcement officers or persons on the exclusion list. I know it wasn't Thomas Crooks. He didn't fake that assassination until Trump needed a re-election.
And at this point in time or previously have been in government, do you have a list in your head of people that believe?
Check this out. This is a former FBI.
Show up to a search warrant with 50 people when really 5 would have sufficed. But that way you can assign very limited amount of work to all of those people and it can be done relatively quickly. Same thing would go here for some sort of a manhunt. Steve was talking about the massive quantity of files that are available. It's not one person at a computer terminal that's responsible for watching all of that. I mean, theoretically, they can engage 38,000 people and have that thing watched in a...
I don't know, man. Everybody in the FBI. So there's so much proof she did it, you know? See what else they got with. We'll wrap this up. I didn't get this far. I just wanted to show you that it's happening now. There was no insurrection. Everything's a setup. He says in one part about Blaze Media, where this guy worked, he said, I know people think that it's a Mormon thing, but I worked at Blaze Media as somebody. He's not a believer, I don't think. He goes, and a third of the people there had the Roman Catholic cross on their head on Ash Wednesday. And the former Secret Service guy in the FBI goes, yeah, it's the same place where they worked. I think this guy at the top said, yeah, it's the same at the FBI.
Allegedly used his own cell phone and credit card.
And driven his own vehicle and taken no special precautions to avoid, just lived his life as normal. And by living his life as normal, this $11 billion a year investigative agency was unable to come up with anything. He was a complete Jason Bourne. Right up until the fact that Steve...
Now, they're talking about the Mr. Cole, the man after this guy from Blaze Media came out and said, we got this gate profile, and it's 94, this girl, here she is. She has no alibi, flimsy alibi. And the next week, they pin it on a black guy that's autistic. Never, he works for his parents and delivering Uber food, but he's diminished. And all of a sudden in a week they go, oh yeah, he was planning it from 2018 before the election was stolen. Wow, this is a movie I saw in the theaters. It's called Enemy of the State. Will was very famous at that time, Will Smith. And so was Gene Hackman. Both of these people have been, well, Gene Hackman suspiciously dead, with very suspicious. Will Smith, it couldn't be more weird.
Chicken that lives in this coop. This is where I work. It seems strange to you, but this has been my office for 15 years. It's completely secure. Copper wire mesh keeps the radio signals out.
This is the satellite imagery of the convenience store 20 minutes ago. They're in El Camino. There it is. John, give us lat 30, 64 minutes, long 72, 29 minutes. There they are. Coming in from top left.
Yep, that's Angelina Jolie's dad, John Voight, the guy who comes off, I guess tries to come off as conservative. He's wading waist deep in it.
Let's go in there and get them.
I call it the jar. No phone or utility lines coming in. Self-contained, unplugged from the world. Nothing for a wire bug to piggyback in on. That leaves only transmitters. It's easy enough to signal sweep for those.
Signal sweeping for transmitters. You're just a party animal.
See, the government's been in bed with the entire telecommunications industry since the 40s. They've infected everything. They can get into your bank statements, computer files, email, listen to your phone calls.
My wife's been saying that for years.
Every wire, every airwave. More technology you use, the easier it is for them to keep tabs on you. It's a brave new world out there. At least it better be.
Wow. Hey, that is crazy, right? That is from the 80s, I think. Let's look at that again. Some of this is just too much. They call it what?
Listen to international calls from foreign. It's some kind of simple encryption.
Oh, conspiracy theorists of the world unite.
It's more than a theory with me. I'm a former conspirer. Yeah, I used to work for the NSA. I was a communication analyst. Listen to international calls from foreign nationals. A GPS tracking device we found in your cellular telephone. I designed one of the first models in that series.
Yeah, I tested it. I was on the survey crew in Fort Bragg in 1982 and 83 when they were testing out the parallel azimuth direction system. It morphed into GPS. It's a triangulation system. It is truly a very small world. That doesn't mean I could paint it in a week or a year. It's not that small.
Go Hammersley.
Jesus Christ.
Wow.
That idiot to put that goddamn thing Who gives a fuck what you wanted? Since you showed up racial dead, the NSA's on to me. What to you? What do you mean?
Huh. What's this? I don't even know. So the insurance companies are continuing. They're going to go. They're already broke.
Got pulled off of their supports and rolled across a field, and they're going to have to work to get those out there. But if you cross that field, they're going up and to the left, Francisco. Keep going up. You can kind of see that light area and debris across that field. That's the path of the tornado. And if you keep going up past that pond, top, middle, other reporters this morning doing a great job here. Shanice is here, and Jordan Ryan is here. So
that was a house,
and that is, who knows what that was? That was probably, that kind of looks like some.
That's the Air Force. It missed the Air Force base, and it got the subdivision. Wow. Huh. Solomon's Temple. Spanish. Why is it? Why wouldn't this be a language that went everywhere around the world, having been co-opted by wolves in sheep clothing and, taken over by Trinitarians because of their secret societies and stuff? We're looking at the Spanish royal palaces. They only show 3, but look at it. Oh, that's a nice small picture. There's another one. And there's one. But in reality, there's this one. There's Mudflood much? Cottage of the Prince. Cottage of the Child. Royal Palace of the Priest, I guess. It's just, I mean, there's nice stuff everywhere in the world. We know there was a reset. Some of the stuff in Spain and Portugal is outsized crazy. But they're not white enough, so they don't get a lot of credit for being a power. Oh, there's a convent, a couple of convents. Yeah, they were all about spreading false religion. I believe they called it Holy Toledo. Here's what you go for there. But no, the mother and child reunion. Excuse me for an attempted vocalization without massive coffee. What's this? It looks like I copied and pasted something. I must have come up with something here. I wanted this one. That looks pretty big. Yeah, I kind of like to look where I live at. It's kind of undiscovered. It was one of the last, it was surrounded by mountains, so they really didn't get there. Right? They didn't discover the Ute until the 1860s, and then they said, well, we still got one tribe left to kill. Yeah, that's the way it went down. Why about the zero? There is no zero. Pretonic chord? There just isn't. If we tried to start at zero, we need to define what zero really means. So that music, if you want to do something in music, you start at 1. You don't start at 0. They got it all figured out, don't they? You want to hear one? Huh. Just in notation. I showed you that. I got it right here. Here's what I think is the first use of it ever. I believe I'm on page 101 of this book called An Elizabethan Virgin something. What is it? An Elizabethan virginal book being a critical essay on the contents of a manuscript in the Fitzwilliam Museum of Cambridge. Okay. Yeah. Page 101. I think I found the first use of just as it just happened. Because they were figuring out how to use the church organs and things because they didn't invent them. You know that. I know that. I know you know that. Weird, huh? Like poltergeist, desecrated graves everywhere in the United States. But since for our Mudflood world, San Francisco is the gift that keeps giving, we'll just focus on, weird things and, gutters, Oddfellow graveyards, crematoriums. When did that happen? Wow. I wonder what would happen if we copy this. We're not going to use this anymore, so we'll just put in the click for the YouTube and we'll drop that in there. Supposedly, search it and see if they have anything about tombstone gutters. Anything about the tombstone gutters? Where am I at? STON. You've seen them. Some of you have. We'll go with plural. Hey, there's JT. That's Joe. He talks about it a little bit. Wow. Lone Tree. Joe's is more of a short. Maybe we should go back and look at it. Because I wanted to see the gutters. You guys know Joe, he's JT now.
And there was a certain time, I think in the early 1900s-ish timeline, they said you were not allowed to bury anyone inside the city of San Francisco. Nobody was allowed to be buried. So what they did is they took this old graveyard that was in this very historic part of San Francisco. And if you didn't have enough money to move your dead relatives that were in that cemetery, they literally took people's headstones, mausoleums. And
wow, what happened? That wasn't me. I didn't turn off the volume.
And there was a certain time, I think in the early...
I want to see the gutters thing. Let's get a little bit. Look at that. I'm not happy about the way this delay is going down.
Did you know one of San Francisco's most scenic parks hides a seriously eerie secret? Welcome to Buena Vista Park, where the past is literally underfoot. Here are a few fun facts about the reused tombstones that now line its winding paths. 1. The park's stone-lined trails are actually shattered headstones from San Francisco's long-gone cemeteries. 2. In the early 1900s, the city moved its dead to Colma, but many grave markers stayed.
I think they said they did. They even turned on their own, Masonic type Oddfellows. This graveyard, there's nothing left now but a crematorium. And it's just turned to weeds now. They're outraged. Now that's the only thing left. And even in our world, they've run out of room it's expensive to bury somebody. Hard work. Just cremate them and have a funeral and go about your business. These people were told they'd be interned in perpetuity, forever, they meant. But they weren't. It got worse and worse. It got filled up. It got forgotten. Started getting overrun. And then, well, you know how things go in San Francisco. They covered it over, turned it into a field, and now they don't use it anymore. It's just a field now. Here's that cemetery we were looking at. It's a disgrace. It's a junkyard. Everything's been buried over. How was Armageddon more like World War I than we've been led to believe? And they just go back in history. So let's see. What is this? A columbarium. It's for, cremated remains of the dead. That's something relatively new, I think, unless you're a Viking, and even they just didn't save them. I think they just burned them up, let them go up in the smoke. But they were doing, a different type of religion at the end. More of a Buddha type, because all of Asia departed. And I showed you that movie. Where's that? What
do you mean on to you? On to you about what?
Enemy of the state. What year was it? Anyway, we know Will Smith, Gene Hackman. You've heard of these people. John Voight, Lisa Bonet, very famous from the Cosby Show. I'm sure she's famous. Even Barry Pepper, Jake Bussey, Ian Hart, Scott Kahn, Jason Lee, Gabriel Byrne. All of these people went on to be big movie stars. Jack Black, Jamie Kennedy had his own TV show. I think Seth Green is in this, or he was in another one like it I almost showed. But it's a virtual who's who about the counterterrorism. Well, Buena Vista Pictures, we heard about that, and I didn't know about that connection. But that's pretty weird. 1998. So it was right before 2001 when they let it all out, and everything changed because of 9/11. And everybody in this movie went on to be famous. Jerry Bruckheimer, didn't he use the Weinstein? Not Epstein. But anyway, nothing about this world is a soundbite. So we're not going to get everything figured out today, but it is figured out. We can explain it here a little, there a little. I hope you join me again as we get back into it. We know it's a flat earth nation. We know the golden age has passed. The mud flood was Armageddon. So there's three: Noah's flood, the mud flood, the reaping. The angels put in two swords and reaped again. And then here we are, because there was that 1,000 years where that got reaped, and then a staggeringly fugitive remnant that Satan can breed into a group of people that some get surrounded. They're set apart for God. They're not going to stay in the cities and fight the robot dogs. They run away and hide. That's my message, and I'm going to stick to it. I want my friends to stick to it because it is a flat earth nation. The golden age is past. You were chosen, elect, predestined from before the foundation of the world to be on your knees, seeming like you're making the right decision because in your heart you believe Jesus Christ rose from the dead, that God is a spirit, and those who worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. There was a sin in heaven. There was a new creation of an earth so we could be an object lesson to the angels to see what a perfect father and a perfect son would do. So God presented himself as the sacrifice. Amen. Hallelujah. Aho aloha. Arrivederci. Ciao. Ciao. Sayonara. Auf Wiedersehen. Nakame. Adios, amigos, from the border of southern Colorado and New Mexico. That's how I like to say goodbye.